Hello everyone. This is Neverland, and today we will be doing a video that I haven't done in a bit due to the tournament drought season, but thankfully there is the SV Cup. Now, I did not initially cover this tournament because it was going simultaneously with, I believe, MWP, or MWP was ending around the same time, and I needed to take a small break from doing tournament content. So I kind of maybe let this slip by me for a bit, which I apologize for, but yes, I will cover at the very least, the final match, and I might do a general review of the SV Cup since it is pretty much the most recent Monotype tournament before the big dog that is NPL. So we'll take a look at the finals, and I have gone out of my way to make sure that I don't spoil who wins this match yet. But I will tell you that it is between Twinke and Trichotomy. If you already know the result, don't worry about it. But for those of you who don't and usually use my channel to keep up with Monotype, I will try not to spoil it. So, with that being said, let's look at the replays for this match. So, first matchup we have is going to be Water versus Water. We see both teams are bringing Hisuian Samurai, which is not surprising. If you looked at NWP, you would also know Hisuian Samurai is basically a very good mon. Twinke opting for a Rain team with Barraskewda and Ogerpon Wellspring, while Trichotomy is looking for a more balanced approach with Rotom Wash, which actually... No, Rotom Wash is still pretty decently common, but Empoleon is definitely a bit unusual, but... Empoleon is a pretty solid mon in what it can do, with its access to rocks, good special defense, and ability to pivot with flip turn. It's a very solid mon, so let's see how this goes. Trichotomy's team seems a little bit passive, but Trichotomy is known for using some of these, well actually no, it's not Trichotomy specifically that's known for using these types of teams, but he does typically succeed with these types of teams a lot, so... Let's see how this matchup goes. Alright, so we lead with Swampert and Hisuian Samurai. Hisuian Samurai is just going to immediately get the Ceaseless Edge off, just instant progress. The eject button immediately into Ogerpon, which eject button Toxapex is very common on rain teams, since it allows you to instantly pivot. We do get the instant stop on the Ogerpon with Toxapex switching from Trichotomy and also getting a little bit of chip with the Rocky Helmet. Poison Jab is used, but to no avail. Swampert does heal a bit from its leftovers, and Hisuian Samurai comes in again, able to get some progress with, Ceaseless Edge. But we do see Twinke try to retaliate with the Toxic Spikes, basically trying to force Trichotomy into using either Rotom, Empoleon, or Toxapex. We do see the Poison Jab finally make some, or get a poison on Hisuian Samurai. Hisuian Samurai on Twinke's side is now in. We see the Sacred Sword trying to get the KO on Hisuian Samurai, but it does not avail. As we do see Ceaseless Edge come out from Twinke. The recover from Toxapex allows it to survive. And unfortunately, due to Samurai perishing, the second layer of spikes will not go down. The rain is set though with Pelipper. Trichotomy blocks the Pelipper with Empoleon as we see the immediate double switch into Toxapex to stifle the Barraskewda. Barraskewda does go for Psychic Fangs anyway, but Toxapex is able to shake it off, and is still slowly wearing down Barraskewda over time with the Rocky Helmet. This Rocky Helmet doing a lot of work in this matchup. Twinke puts in their Toxapex to match the other Toxapex as it does get the recover off and heals. Trichotomy does click the extra sensory and Twinke does lose Barraskewda. In comes Swampert. Swampert goes for the flip turn as we get a free Ogerpon Wellspring switch in. Ogerpon Wellspring is in a very good spot here. Will we see the Sucker Punch from Trichotomy? Yes, we do. Horn Leech will heal Ogerpon for a bit, but unfortunately, Greninja is still not out, so Trichotomy will be able to force out the Ogerpon here. In comes Pelipper. Pelipper is going to be able to not get one hit KO'd by the extra sensory, but it will fall by the subsequent one. Swampert will come in. We do see Greninja force itself out as Swampert proceeds to keep using Earthquake. I'm actually not sure if both Swamperts are the same speed. It looks like it might not be. So Twinkie will outspeed and get the KO onto enemy Swampert. Greninja comes in, takes a bunch of Hazard Chip, which means it may be in a rough spot. Toxapex, I don't believe Toxapex survives this. Yeah, Toxapex will perish, and Okromon Wellspring will follow. And yeah, just like that. Tricotomy was able to utilize Hisui and Samurot's hazard stacking nature and just completely wore down Twinkie's team before they were able to get anything going with Okromon Wellspring. Okromon Wellspring was still a massive threat. If Tricotomy ever lost his Greninja, he would have completely lost the matchup because Okromon Wellspring just kind of absolutely destroy his entire team. Or it can absolutely destroy the entire team if it is unable to be checked. Unfortunately, Tricotomy was able to check it, and he played very well around his spikes. Twinkie's team wasn't able to really deal with the spikes very well, as it was looking for a more aggressive team, but Tricotomy's team does slightly check it due to it also being a fatter team that can actually resist the water stab spam, and also just is able to abuse the lack of hazard removal on Twinkie's team. Assuming, yeah, no, I don't think Pelipper has defog in this generation, so yeah. Well played by Tricotomy, very solid play. Twinkie still tried to do as much as they could in the end, but it was a rough matchup, and it was just generally very hard for Twinkie to make a comeback here. But yeah, that is what you would expect at the finals of a tournament of this caliber. So let's move on to the next match. Next we have Steel versus Flying. Now, Twinkie is opting for the Corviknight Steel, as we have seen multiple times in MWP. We do not see the Hisui and Gudra, which isn't unusual, but we do see Caesar again, so back to All Reliable. On Tricotomy's side, we have the Enamorous and Tornadus T. We do see a lack of Articuno, because Articuno is seemingly too passive these days, and it looks like it might be falling off. But we do see Gliscor, Skarmory, Double Steels, and Dragonite as well. Now, whether or not this is Fat Dragonite or actual offensive Dragonite is yet to be seen, because it could still be Fat Dragonite. And with Skarmory, you definitely know either Spikes. This is going to be a hazard stacking team as well. So, if I had to make a prediction on who would win here, I would think it may be It may be Tricotomy based on matchup, due to his hazard stacking and Steel just having Steel is notoriously really has a rough time dealing with hazards, because Iron Trench just gets worn down very, very easily over the course of the match. So Twinkie may be in a disadvantage spot here, but depending on how Goldengo gets played, among other things, this match could go either way. And Tricotomy does slightly struggle to break Twinkie's team without Gliscor doing some insane shenanigans. So let's see what happens here. Alright, we see the lead with Archaludon and Gliscor immediately. Gliscor goes for the immediate knockoff since it doesn't have to fear Twinkie statusing it. The Earthquake does come through, as we do see more stamina boosts come through. Gliscor is able to take the Dragon Meteor pretty well, and Tricotomy does go for the Protect. Archaludon, we do see the swap into Skarmory, as Archaludon does take some Rocky Helmet Chip. Thunder Wave is used to slightly annoy the Skarmory. As Roost, it puts Skarmory back at full HP. We do see the Stealth Rock. And now we see the Thunder Wave on Goldengo, and it looks like the Dragonite is Choice Band. So the Archaludon comes back into Twinkie, as Corviknight is sent out, but immediately forced out by Tricotomy. Archaludon fails to let the Thunder Wave do any have any impact, as it does go into Gliscor, but we do see the Draco Meteor do quite a hefty chunk to the Gliscor. Fortunately, Twinkie is opting to stay in and allow Gliscor to get some additional healing in. But that is just the way that probably should go. Knockoff is used and Archaludon does fall. Iron Treads comes in. Now Iron Treads, yep, has Ice Spinner. So now Trichotomy has to decide whether or not he wants to, yeah. So he's gonna go into Skarmory. Knockoff is used and the Rocky Helmet will be taken off. Corviknight will come in as a result. And we are going to see the Rapid Spin come out from Iron Treads. Goldingo will come in. Probably trying to look to block the defog, but Trichotomy does go for the U-turn instead, and Gliscor comes in. Corviknight comes in on Twinkie's side, as the knockoff from Gliscor does get rid of Corviknight's Covert Cloak. Trying to think of what Covert Cloak is trying to block. I'm not entirely sure. I know it's definitely blocking something useful though, because he wouldn't bring it otherwise. But yeah, we do see the rare Nasty Plot come from Tornadus, as Heatran does come in to try and block the, or take the Focus Blast. Heatran using a Power Gem on the Gliscor. Trichotomy swaps back into Tornadus, and Twinkie goes into Corviknight as a response. Nasty Plot is used again, as we do see the Brave Bird come through. Heatran is put in again, as we do see the Heatran block a Heat Wave from the Tornadus. Focus Blast thankfully does hit for Trichotomy again, very lucky. Well, it shouldn't be lucky, but it is very fortunate that he was able to hit both. But we do see Scizor come in and get a Swords Dance off. Another Swords Dance comes through, and it looks like Trichotomy could be in a bit of trouble depending on what Scizor does next. Okay, so Scizor does use Close Combat. Close Combat does get the KO on Skarmory. Scizor will click Bullet Punch, and now Trichotomy is in a very rough spot because the +3 Scizor will do a ton of damage, and yeah, the Bullet Punch will KO, and that will be it. And just like that, Scizor is able to take a couple of advantage, or take advantage of a couple of Trichotomy's passive Pokemon, and it was able to completely demolish the team. And this was all done because of the setup work done with Thunder Wave and Archaludon's chip, as well as the sacrifice of Heatran. But yeah, this is just a classic textbook game of sometimes you just need to sack him on in order to get into a more favorable position, and Twinkie pretty much solidified that because of how he utilized his Heatran. So, well done to Twinkie in this matchup. It was very well played by him. But Trichotomy also did very well in this match as well, constantly trying to keep pressure on with his Gliscor, as he knew that the Gliscor was going to be his main way of winning the game. And the Nasty Plot Tornado Steve was also a big threat. Unfortunately for him, though, the Scizor was just too big of a problem. If Twinkie had opted to not use Scizor, I think this match would have been a bit harder for them to win, because he does still have the Iron Treads, which is still a massive threat to flying, and Goldingo is also very annoying for flying to deal with, especially with all the T-Wave spam going on Twinkie's team. But if he had opted to go for Hisuian Goodra, for example, Trichotomy's team maybe would have had a better chance at dealing with it. But yeah, that will be it for that matchup. Well played to Twinkie. And let's move on to the final match. This one is for all the marbles. We have Twinkie bringing a flying team with Zapdos and Mandibuzz, very rare combo. And we see Trichotomy come in with a Hydreigon Dragon team, which Hydreigon is very rare for Dragon, especially at this level. On ladder it's not too uncommon, but in a tournament level play, definitely is very rare. So this is going to be interesting, and we do see a Latias as well. But yeah, Trichotomy's team looks pretty scary on preview. I assume the Latias is probably going to be a Choice Scarf Healing Wish set, and Trichotomy is probably going to end up having some it's either going to be Specs band or Specs Raging Bolt band Dragon Bolt, and we might see the rare Stealth Rock on Hydreigon possibly, because it could be Choice Scarf Archelodon as well, but I feel like Trichotomy wouldn't really run a set like that. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah. Twinkie does have the tools to win this matchup, although it's going to be very hard for Twinkie to deal with the double steals on the Dragon team. It doesn't help that it also has, or Trichotomy's team also has Latias that can just heal them to full at any point. And it's not like Latias is really doing much in this matchup anyway, because of the presence of Corviknight, so the most it can either do is trick something or get a good H-Wish off. And it looks like we're probably going to be seeing it get sacrificed to keep the steals healthy. It's going to be hard for Twinkie to win this, I think, but it is definitely very possible. Zapdos is unfortunately not going to be super useful here, though, I don't think, but I could be wrong. Let's see how this match goes. Alright, Gliscor lead into Archelodon. Archelodon does take the knockoff and loses its leftovers. As the Stealth Rock does get traded, we see... Oh, it's actually funny, the roles are reversed. Instead of Twinkie being the one to use the Archelodon, Trichotomy is the one to the Archelodon in this situation, as the Swords Dance does come through, but the special defense drop on Gliscor will unfortunately have it forced out. As the Mandibuzz does come in with Defog, very easily taking that Dark Pulse. The Stealth Rock will come back down, but Twinkie will look to get into the Swords Dance off here. As Hydreigon does come back in, Dark Pulse is used and does a hefty chunk of damage to the Hydreigon. Gliscor healing a little bit with the Poison Heal, and we see a Protect come through on the side of Twinkie. What will Twinkie do? Twinkie stays in, but the unfortunate flinch does stop it from getting the KO on Hydreigon. It was a very fortunate that it lived the roll, though. Mandibuzz will come in. Mandibuzz is able to take the Dark Pulse, but will it get flinched too? No, it does not. So it is able to get the Roost off, thankfully, and Trichotomy will probably switch out. Yep. Archelodon comes back in to replace those rocks that Mandibuzz will remove. Mandibuzz does go back to full HP, as we do see the T-Wave come through. Twinkie making sure that the rocks stay off the field as the Parastun does come off. Flash Cannon is used looking to probably try and get a special defense drop, as we do see the Stealth Rock come back through. Gliscor is going to start healing again with a Poison Heal, as we do see Corviknight come in this time as a response. Corviknight will take the Flash Cannon very easily, but we do not. Double Defog, actually, on Corviknight and Mandibuzz. Interesting. As we do see the Flash Cannon again coming through on the Gliscor. Very unfortunate that Twinkie can't keep this thing as healthy as he would like. Good play by Trichotomy calling out the Protect, as Twinkie is kind of forced to use the Protect there. Twinkie will be able to heal the proper HP. Oop, and the Latios immediately coming through. Trichotomy is in Twinkie's head, as we do see the Ice Beam come through. Ice Beam is going to be enough to KO Gliscor here. So Corviknight will come in as a response. Latios will use Ice Beam again. Do we see a freeze? No freeze. Raging Bolt now in prime position in front of a wall with 55% HP. Gliscor comes in. We see the Draco Meteor. It does a ton of damage, as Gliscor will still manage to live, but we do see Corviknight come through as the Archelodon comes back out. Gliscor comes in on the predicted Thunder Wave. Will we see a call-out Swords Dance? No, we see Corviknight come back in again, as Trichotomy still ends up going for the Stealth Rock, and now the Thunder Wave comes in on Corviknight and gets the stun. Raging Bolt coming in, stun again on Corviknight. Paralysis just super strong. As we see Raging Bolt, alright, Gliscor does block the Thunderbolt from Raging Bolt. As we see a Facade come through on Twinkie. Glasgow once again healing its HP. As the Draco Meteor does come through. Twinkie probably not staying in. No, Twinkie will stay in. Ooh, a good call out by Twinkie. As we will see Twinkie continue to keep battering down the Raging Bolt. Twinkie seemingly not having Earthquake. Because I feel like if Twinkie had Earthquake there, he might have clicked it, but yeah. Regardless, and this Dragonite definitely seems to be choice band. So, Dragon Bolt will come through. U-turn is used, and it does get a crit, which I think that crit may matter in the long run of the game. It does matter in that particular instance, but in the long run of the game, I think that will be a brutal thing to lose. Oh, and with Twinkie's Gliscor being gone, Raging Bolt is going to have a field day, because Zapdos will not be enough to keep that thing in check. We do see Zapdos use the substitute though, as the knockoff will not be able to break it. It looks like Twinkie is going to look to sub-roost here and try to wear down the knockoff PP. Unfortunately for Twinkie though, Dragapult has this funny ability called Infiltrator that allows it to still get the pivot off and do some damage to Zapdos. The Heat Wave will come through, as knockoff is used again by Trichotomy. Looks like we might be here for a little bit as we see another Heat Wave come through. Substitute comes through as the Dragon Tail fails to connect onto Zapdos. Protect is used and Heat Wave is used on Twinkie's side again. It does look like Twinkie is trying to stall out the Gudra's PP. So let's see how well that goes for Twinkie. So yeah. Let's see, knockoff has... Okay, so we do get the burn. The burn is actually very good because it allows Twinkie to keep the sub up against Gudra for a lot longer. Will we see the sub? Yeah, we see the sub, and Dragapult should be able to get the KO on Zapdos here with Dragon Darts. So yeah, instead Trichotomy opts to use the U-turn to get the Raging Bolt in, and the Zapdos will get or not Zapdos, but Mandibuzz will get KO'd. Zapdos taking Rocks damage will probably also... no, the Raging Bolt will be swapped out, as Gudra is put back in. I think... No, okay, so I'm not sure if Zapdos survives this. Zapdos does not survive the Dragon Darts, an unfortunate 3% roll on the second one. As an Amorous does come in, Moonblast is used. Unfortunately, Gudra will still be there to stop the Rampage of the Enamorous, as Corviknight will be swapped in. Enamorous looking very scary here. But you have to remember that Trichotomy still has Raging Bolt in the back. Paralysis, once again, doing hefty amounts of work for Trichotomy here, as Corviknight is still not able to move. Corviknight still cannot move. But we do see the Roost finally come off, as Body Press is used again, and Corviknight once again cannot move. Do see another Roost come through. Sarkaldon keeps pressing the Body Press. Fortunately for Trichotomy, that Body Press PP is probably looking very rough right now. As the Phantom Force does come through, does connect and do a decent chunk of damage to Corviknight. As we see it go through again, Corviknight once again gets paralyzed. As the Roost does come through, I don't think... Yeah, 3 more uses of Roost on the side of Twinkie. As we do see another Phantom Force connect. The U-turn finally coming through, as we do see an Amorous come in. Assuming Gudra will come through. The special attack drop will be brutal. Gudra is permanently stuck at this HP unless Latios full heals it, which if Latios does do that, that is an instant win for Trichotomy, I believe, because the rest of the team cannot deal with that one. And the crit into the paralysis might seal the fate of our friend Twinkie here. Yes, Corviknight is not able to survive that last one. As we do see an Embrace come in, and is able to KO the Goodra here. But unfortunately for Twinkie, we do have... Oh, never mind, Latios with the Choice Scarf comes in and gets a KO on both Embrace and Dragonite, and just like that, yep, Trichotomy wins. Sorry, I talked bad about you, Latios. I wasn't familiar with your game, but yeah. Latias was able to clutch up and actually get the last 2 KOs needed to get Trichotomy that W. Well played to Twinkie. Twinkie did get heavily hacked this game, unfortunately, which is very sad, but they played their best with that knowledge in mind, and it was still relatively close, even with all those hacks involved. So I will say, both of these players, very good, and these teams were very well made, and it was just very well played Pokemon. Well done by both players, but congratulations to Trichotomy for winning the SV Cup. And that will be it for the content of today's video. Now, next week, I will do a metagame review. I know I said last week I would do the metagame review, but MPL is starting a bit later than I thought it would, so I'm going to do the metagame review next week. And then we'll start doing MPL content once the tournament starts. So, yeah, I will be doing a lot of research on the stuff that was used in SV Cup. I don't think I'll do the stats for it, because I don't think I have enough time to do that with my current schedule, but maybe I can. Who knows? But, yeah. Well done to both players, and if this is just a small preview as to what MPL will bring us, I cannot wait for MPL to start. But with all that said and done, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Take care.